Cung, I want to start by saying that I'm probably never going to go again to check out your Instagram because I always get a little bit scared, a little bit more scared every time I go there because it's like the world is closing in and people are getting very violent nowadays. I don't know if it's because of the COVID, if it's because of all the tribalism that's going on, but I'm obviously joking. This is actually one thing that I think people should be aware of. And you always talking about people themselves, ourselves being our first responders. Do you want to talk a little bit about your raising awareness of the violence that's going on in the world?
Well, first of all, because I'm Asian, and when all this first started, there was a lot of Asians being, being victims of hate crimes, victims of bullying, right? So I figure I would try to help out and educate people about being their first responder, So I started like a fight or flight show, and then I actually rebooted that, and I just started doing more stuff on the, like Instagram and Facebook and YouTube.
I've been checking it out, and it's always a little bit of an eye opener because people sometimes they believe that they're safe and that everything is going okay, and it's only stuff that's going on in the media. But the media is really very. There's a tendency in the media to only portray a couple of things, but I know that there's a lot much more going on in the world. And I also feel that the new generations, I'm talking like an old person, but the new generations are very entitled. And when I listen to the life story of somebody like you who had to struggle really hard to get to where they got, I mean, you're one of my idols. And I would like to say that
Thank you.
I've already heard once or twice your life story, but I would really like you to tell it to my listeners. So you were born in Vietnam, and what happened from there until you started practicing martial arts?
I was born on May 25th, 1972, and I left out of the Vietnam during the fall of Saigon. And basically, my grandfather was the chief police, and the U.S. government said that they couldn't protect us anymore. And, we had 2 hours to go back and get one luggage each and leave.
Oh my
So
God.
my grandfather took the chance and got us all back, and we left. And basically we're in 3 different refugee camps, and we started over. We are that typical Asian family that 13 14 to a house, 4 bedroom house. And my grandparents had one room. My great grandmother had one room. So the uncles and the aunts shared a room. So I was with the aunts because my mom, I was like the first of the family, and it was definitely crazy. We were those, like, fresh off the boat, So,
Yeah.
and coming here to America, a lot of kids didn't understand what happened, or a lot of people didn't understand what happened. So, they took it out on us, and being a refugee, not knowing any English, it was tough. It was tough, and once I started school, I had a little bit of English foundation, but I couldn't communicate that well. But I got bullied until my mom says, "Okay, that's it. You got to learn how to defend yourself." And she put me in martial arts when I was 10, and then I was the first to throw punches. I didn't wait. I just threw punches, and once I got into wrestling, it was a different story.
Wow. Wow. So how old were you when you got to the U.S.?
Well, I was probably, by the time with all the refugee camps, I was already 3 years old.
Uh-huh.
Being in the U.S., and we also had to stay in a refugee camp in the U.S. Then we got a sponsor in Monterey, and so we stayed in Monterey for a bit. So.
Uh-huh. And do you at that time have any recollection? Do you still have any recollection of anything? Because I have no idea when I first began my first memories, I have no idea which ones they were. But you being in such a turmoil, do you have any recollection at 3 years old of being somewhere or coming to or going to the United States?
I don't remember that part, but I do remember every time my mom had to leave to work. Because she had to work a lot, she had to make ends meet, and at the same time go to college. And because like she already had a 4-year degree, but then she had I don't know what program she was in, but she had to do a few more years to finish up to get credentials over here, and at the same time she was working 2, sometimes 3 jobs. So it was definitely hard for her, I can't say it was hard for me because I was the baby of the family, and everyone treated me good. But I was definitely bullied a lot in when I went to school, and I just it helped me become the person that I am, and I feel blessed, and I thank God every day for being able to wake up and see a roof over my head and food in the refrigerator to feed my kids, my family.
Oh, what an amazing life story! And what was the first experience in the martial arts? Which was the first one?
First experience in the martial arts when I was probably 10 years old, and there was Taekwondo, and it wasn't much of an experience because my mom was consistent for a couple weeks, but then she picked up another job, and after she got another job, every time I showed up, it was like once in a blue moon, and all of a sudden a test came up, and I'm like, hey, how come everyone's yellow belt now? How come Then when I did take my test, I don't think I even passed, because I wasn't there to learn, enough to pass the test.
Yeah, so you were already having your lesson at 10 years old that consistency is key. If you're not consistent, you're not going to get any yellow belts, much less black belts. I guess that start in the Taekwondo, which is like 90% kicking, really helped you along the way, because the first that you do will probably can you call it your foundation or not so much? If you had to say that your foundation,
because I didn't get a chance to really dedicate myself, right?
Okay.
But I got to say wrestling is my
Okay.
first foundation. But then after my second year of college, I went back to Taekwondo, and then also at the same time, the teacher was teaching Vietnamese Kung Fu, and then I found the art of Sanda, or at the time it was called Sancho, which is fighting off a raised platform, and as an amateur, right? So there I went undefeated in America, and then when I went to the World Championships, I took bronze, so I had my first loss, but I lost against the defending world champion, and then the following World Championships, they have it every other year. In Rome, I didn't consider that a loss. I was in the semifinals against
a local,
I think, Iran. He was really of a slick fighter, but I was just too powerful and too all my in Sanda or Sancho, they score a lot of points. I was more like every time I kicked or I punched or I threw someone, I was either getting a knockout or hurting them. So I would dominate. But then he did a spinning back kick. At the same time, I was trying to throw a low kick, and when I hit him in the groin, which I didn't hit him in the groin because you can easily, play it back, and you can see that I hit him right above, underneath the groin,
thigh.
And tabletopped him, and then and they disqualified me, and I already had beaten the toughest fighter in the tournament from Belarus, in the quarterfinals, and I just felt like, they didn't want me to, they didn't want anyone from the U.S. to win, even though I was Asian, so,
okay. Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah. So there's a lot of politics in the fighting sport, and I'm sure that you've had enough of that. And I know of your quarrel with the UFC and Dana White and stuff. But let's not get into that just yet. But what is the difference? I know that Sandai and Sancho are the fighting part of Chinese martial arts, like the forms are the sequences. And I did actually, I started practicing wushu when I was 9 years old. But can you tell the audience what is the difference between sanshou and sanda? Or is there any difference?
Well, like here's like wushu, right?
Uh-huh.
Wushu is divided into two categories. How I was taught, one is Tao Lu, which is the forms, and the like the internal style, like qigong or tai chi, and then they had sanshou or sanda, but sanshou at the time was the amateur, where you fight off the raised platform, and then eventually they realized, hey, this is entertainment, so they started getting professional, fights going, and they called that sanda. So that's kind of like how I, pieced it together. I don't speak Chinese, but I was really into it, so I started competing and going to every single tournament I could in Sancho where there's a raised platform, and then actually then I found Draka, which is the same style, but you can punch multiple times to the head, and you fight inside a ring. So I fought 2 fights in Draka, got unanimous decision on the first one, then knocked out a guy from Japan who was one of the first Japanese to win in Lampini Stadium against like a Thai champion, Monaro Taro. And then, I guess that's when I met with Scott, and, Scott started promoting me in Strikeforce, and the rest is history,
Yeah, because a lot of people don't know this, but you had about 100 fights before you went on to mixed martial arts. And you said in an interview, I heard you saying that you had to raise the money to go to all these different countries and do those fights. So I was like,
Yeah.
how did he do it? I mean, what did you do for money back then to get enough money to go and struggle and go all the way through to get all those about 100 fights before you actually went on to MMA?
Well, not just like 100. This was all amateur fights, right? So I had to pay for their entry fee.
Oh, yeah.
I had to pay for the travel fee.
Oh, goodness.
So I mean, a lot of it, of course, my mom and my aunt and my uncle, everyone like really sponsored me, but I still needed like food money. So I did a lot of sponsorship. I did a lot of door to door. I did a lot of car washes. I did a lot of pizza drive. I did a lot of like, selling like T-shirts and stuff like that. So I just, I was that guy who rolled up my sleeve and did what I had to just to get to the tournaments. And, sometimes, when you don't make the ends meet, you just get to the tournament, and it's like that. It was almost embarrassing, but like you go with you go with a couple guys that and you get your own room, but you walk down the hallway of the elevator, and you're like, oh look, there's a slice of pizza someone left out there, they didn't finish, and you're just like, hey, I'm hungry, I'm gonna eat it, So,
Screw it.
Yeah, screw it.
I mean, you have to, right?
Yep.
No organic free range stuff for someone
not,
who's struggling,
not
right?
back then. Yeah, there's a lot of eat what you could, just to be at the tournament.
The first time I saw you was before the fight you did with Jason Yee. You did a couple of fights with him, am I right? You did 2 fights with him, or just 1?
I did 1 with him.
Oh,
by then I was already running my own school, so I was doing well. So I was more into like promoting the arts, but like before that was pretty rough.
Because as a young kid watching those magazines like Inside Kung Fu magazine and Kung Fu Qigong Wushu, there was this this magazine called Kung Fu Qigong Wushu. I'm not sure if my Chinese is correct, but in that magazine you had like an article, you against Jason Yee, telling the backgrounds of each one, and I was like, God, these guys look like they're the real action men of you guys look like it's like the perfect movie fight for real. So I was like, oh, I want to be like these guys. They look so good and so tough and so muscular and whatnot. So this is obviously a conditioning and a fitness channel as well. So I would like to know, in terms of conditioning, not just the technical stuff of the martial arts, or if you could run us by a typical day of yours during the competitive years, how was it like? How was it like? How tough was it? And how did you divide the training portion in terms of the technical stuff for the Sancho or the MMA and the conditioning in, for example, the gym or the running?
Well, like as an amateur, and I was still with my old traditional coach. So there's a lot of like leapfrogs, a lot of like body weights, like tons of pull ups, upside down push ups, clapping push ups. But then when I
Nice.
opened up my own gym, I started taking it more scientifically, doing bleachers with all the wrestling that I've done in the past and all the conditioning drills that I was doing in wrestling. I started implementing the wrestling and the stand up together and the conditioning, where I would run these crazy mountains. One was we call it Suncrest, and that's like on Piedmont Road. Right here's White Road, and it turns Piedmont. That hill, you can see it from the road. It's like 1 mile up, and that's really intense. And then we have this park called Alum Rock, where like you run this trail twice. That's like almost 5 miles, but like it's all kinds of crazy winery road. But like you get to this area where it just, you think it's over, then you turn the corner and this one big hill, and so just a lot of crazy conditioning. And when I did start to turn pro, I started like doing bleachers with my students on my back, and then coming down the bleachers and kicking tie pads. You can see that my world champions. She's a female fighter, Elena Maxwell. She uh,
Yeah.
she she posted. It's called "Making of a Champion," and it just showed me training and doing all kinds of stuff. So
Oh,
I was
that's
doing a
nice.
lot
I'm
of the
gonna
stuff
link
that
it.
the
I'm
guys
gonna
are
link
doing
it. Yeah.
like now, right? Uh, so I felt like just I want it to be different. I wanted to take my training to another level. And then I got with a few coaches that kind of burned me out a little bit. And then when I did go MMA, I went to Javier Mendez, aka, and we just collaborated really well. And then his camp got really big, and so I really had to take a step back because I was getting a little bit older. I couldn't, my body wasn't recovering the way it was, and so I just said, there's only so much I can do here at this gym, and I have to take my training to like a different, approach, so I can have a little bit more longevity. And so I worked with Javier for, you know, um, you know, most of my MMA fights, and then a couple fights that when I went to Macau, like by that time he was just way too busy. So, I just ended up using one of my someone I fought, but as a really good friend of mine, Scott Sheely, who trained Matt Brown. So and I use Gary Owens, who is another trainer at AKA. So I kept it in the family, but when the coach has all those champions, he can't spread himself out too thin. So you just gotta go with it.
Did you at that point segment a lot? Like, for example, wrestling in the morning and kickboxing in the afternoon and conditioning in the evening, something like that, or not so much?
You know, when I was over at AKA, I did that, but then for my last couple fights, I just started putting it all together, and then I try to keep my practices not as long. So if it was like, if I was doing like my boxing, it always had wrestling in it. If I do kickboxing, it always had wrestling in it. And the only thing that I started doing more is like I would like get my MMA sparring in, but like not where I'm trying to kill my partners, or it's more like flow spar. But as soon as you hit the ground, you're going hard. Then by that time I had my own students, and I had a couple pro fighters. I had a whole bunch of amateurs, so I had plenty of training partners to train with.
Yeah. So weight training, not so much at the time, or did you do a lot of weight training as well?
I always did a lot of weight training. I just never lifted really heavy. There's one part in there I did lift heavy, and I was training with this coach Giovanni, And then he was like, he did a lot. He had me do a lot of powerlifting, but then I started getting some bad injuries. I tore my hamstring and stuff like that, so I had to take a step back
Oh, okay.
from the heavy lifting. But now, even now, I'm always high rep. Really no breaks. I keep my heart rate up pretty high when I lift weights. So.
Yeah, I remember being a teenager and designing my own training programs. And sometimes you think, no, I know what to do for myself. But then it's very good to have someone specialized to help you with. Because I used to do stupid stuff after I watched. There was this movie from Shaw Brothers called The Shaolin Temple, not the one with Jet Li, but another one. Yeah, another one from Shaw Brothers. And there was this guy who wanted to jump very high, so he used to put like ankle weights, like a ton of ankle weights, and he would jump every day. And after a year, you would take them off, and then he leaped. So I watched that, and I was like, okay, my retarded brain was like, yeah, let's do this. So every day I would jump for 10 minutes as if I were in a concert with that stuff on, believing that I was going to be jumping higher. But just like you said, once you found out how to train correctly and do the bleachers, which is very much what I discovered as well, which is not exactly bleachers for me, but it was something like the plyometrics, in which you jump very hard or very explosively for 10 to 20 seconds, but then you rest and then you jump all over again until you get that explosion. Because one of the things I mostly love about you is the kicking power and the explosion. You're so explosive. Even when you do the takedowns, it's so explosive. And by watching your Instagram, I can see that you still maintain that. So I'm sure that's not a very easy thing to maintain along the way. So what mostly differs from those days to now in terms of working out? What's your typical day for you right now? What changed?
I mean, I still train pretty much the same, but everything's shorter. Everything's more condensed, right? Everything's like, being in the gym. If I lift, I get up and I shadow box, and or if I do leg extension and the bag's there, I'm kicking the bag, or I'm using like the spar bar or the Punch King, where if I don't have someone holding the pads for me, then I'm supersetting, where I'm doing 1 minute on one machine, 1 minute to another, or 30 seconds on, 30 seconds to another machine, or 30 seconds hitting the bag, and then 30 seconds like lifting, some dumbbells or jumping on a bench and just like doing like high reps until, it ranges from 30 seconds to 45 to 1 minute, but I'm going like without any breaks for a good 15 or 20 minutes.
Wow.
Then
like circuit training,
I would call it. Yeah, I would call it. But then when I come in to spar, I would spar. Then afterwards, I'd go and hit some mitts or some pads and then drill a little bit, and that's it. And now working with my son, I make sure he doesn't overtrain. I flow a lot. I flow spar with him a lot, and then I get some wrestling in with him, and then I'm getting some of his wrestling teammates to train as a group, and then he's able to train with kids his size and his weight, and and they're older than him, so he's getting a really good wrestling in. But then the stand up, it's always like, hey, control yourself, go easy, lighten up on the power, because he's got like the DNA, the Kung Lee DNA,
young blood. The DNA. How old is he?
He's 15.
15. Ooh, good age. Good age.
Yeah. Good age.
Keep him away from the chicks for now. Let him continue.
Yeah, totally.
Because once he finds out, it's like, what? Dad, you'd been holding this on me.
Yeah.
Is everything okay?
Yeah.
Are you okay?
No, yeah, it's good. Just my wife telling me she'll be back.
Oh, okay. Because I know that I know your wife. Say hi to her for me, by the way. Because I know she does your nutrition, right?
Yes.
So you never really worried about your nutrition. So now she's like, oh no, come here, Cung. So what has changed?
I mean,
what's changed in your diet?
I want to make sure everyone thinks that I'm not drinking a beer. It's just kombucha. Right? So,
Kombucha. Yeah.
There you go.
Nice. So what's your typical eating day for you now? Has it been hard to follow this nutrition protocol now that you have someone to follow you?
Well, Yeah, I mean, because
Yeah.
I like the junk food. I like the pizzas,
Oh, me
but
too.
I just I just got to make sure every 2 hours I'm trying to eat something, and whether if I'm eating protein, it's with vegetables, and then we're doing a lot of like vegetable juice, a lot of greens, a lot of beets, and it's it doesn't taste that great, but it's you can tell. So it keeps me lean, and it's just the diet. And then I usually have like two cheat meals. But now she's like, just go and have a cheat day, so you don't do it the next day. But like halfway through the day, I'm eating, and then because you're so healthy, you start getting like sick, so you start doing less of it. So
Yeah.
I notice I've been eating a lot less of junk food, so whatever she's doing, it's definitely working.
Yeah, because once you get accustomed to a diet, not even call it diet, but to daily or nutrition habits, or once you change your nutrition habits, sometimes you actually kind of feel fuller and you start managing more and not having as much cravings. But I'm like you, man. I started with a rough and bad foundation because I ate whatever I wanted, so nobody was following or accompanying me. So yeah, nowadays I'm a little bit more mindful of what I eat, but it takes all those days that it takes to get on the wagon are really tough to then keep going.
Yeah,
Do you drink any alcohol or stuff like that at all? Every once in a while, no.
I drink wine once in a blue moon,
Yeah.
and then if some special occasion, you know, I drink a little
Okay.
cognac or something with the uncles and family.
Nice.
It's
Very
like
nice.
I sip it, and while they're talking, I pour it in someone else's cup. So
What was your peak moment in your career? I'm gonna say it probably was like Frank Shamrock, right? In Strike Force, or
yeah,
do you have
I
any other
think
one in mind?
definitely. Well, right before that, I was doing really well in with Scott Coker. Right, it was hard to find opponents, and then when I got into MMA, I was just fighting with the MMA rules, and then I felt like with the training over at AKA, and then putting me up with some like not killers, but some good opponents where I was able to experience and learn. Then my fifth fight was against Frank Shamrock, so I was like, okay, let's do it, let's go, And then I just I just feel blessed for all my experiences and all the opponents that I've had, and it's been a good run, and now I'm just working on producing and action directing, and starting up my own shows, and educating people about fight or flight,
Yeah.
in the world we live in. So
Do you need a stuntman? Count me in. I'll go tomorrow.
yep,
If you need a
yeah,
stuntman,
yeah.
let me know, of course. So how was
Soon
this?
as this soon as this BS, you
Yeah.
know,
Oh man, don't even
we
get me
and
started on this shit.
again, we should really talk about this so people can wake up.
Yeah.
Excuse my Vietnamese, but you got to wake the fuck up.
Yeah.
I mean, if you do your research, it's out there. There's a lot of controversial things, but if you do your research, you'll see. I mean, why are we wearing masks when there's already scientific studies saying that the mask makes it worse for our health, and it doesn't even really protect you. Why? Control.
Well,
So
that's highly controversial, and I was once
yeah,
a believer that the mask was a great help. I still believe that in a couple of situations it might help. That's my belief. I don't know. But if you're like me, or like most people who carry their masks on their pocket, and then it's like, oh, where the fuck is it? Where the fuck is it? Oh no, it's over there. Then it falls on the ground. Then it stays up. Then it's like, then it's on the car, full of shit in the car and stuff like that. And then you put it on. It's like, wow, I'm going through all of this bullshit every day to put on the mask, and maybe I'm doing I'm just doing a disservice to myself and others because I'm actually having a harder time breathing, and a lot of bad stuff might come from that. And besides, I'm already keeping distance from people. Why the hell would I have to be, what do you call it? No tolerance for those who don't wear masks. That's so stupid. That's so stupid.
Yeah, I mean, as you see the stuff going on in Australia. You see the stuff going on now. Like it's all over social media. Like I just this morning I woke up and I go through the news part and I was like, why is this mom at her son's high school game? Being dragged off and tased by I guess a COVID officer.
What?
Because she wasn't wearing a mask.
Oh, man.
And she was 6 feet away. She was with her family, and that's her family. She's in the center. She wasn't wearing a mask. Maybe I didn't see before that, but now people are like, don't fight. But like, first of all, if the cop comes and they have to explain to you what they're gonna do, or you put on your mask, but they shouldn't just grab you and drag you. Things like that. That stuff starts revolutions. Like if I was there and that was my wife, I guess we'll both be in jail because I would not let anyone, or I'd be in the hospital. I don't know, but if someone's gonna put hands on my wife, well, wrong person to put hands in. And
Yeah, for sure.
How many cops are gonna take me down?
Yeah.
But I'm cracking them.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
But I like
I'm going to protect my family. I don't care who it is.
I love how honest you are and outspoken about that, because you're actually one to say when they did good, but you're also one to say when they did bad. And nowadays, I'm not even sure how it stands right now, but I believe everybody hates police officers nowadays, and it's like, whoa, come on. Just because of a few bad apples, it doesn't mean that they all are fucked up. What do you think about all this?
No, look, I have a lot of old students that are cops, and they're actually, I have a family member that's a cop, so I feel that their heads and their hearts in the right place, but then there's a couple of those, like you said, bad apples, right? And that makes everyone looks bad. But at the same time, you got to look at what's going on, right? How come there's certain things that are like Antifa? How come they're able to get away with so much?
Yeah.
How come now? Hey, I know a lot of people are starting to see these groups. They're acting like terrorists.
It's like militias. They're forming militias. I'm watching that and I'm like, what the fuck? Why does the news only cover? Why do the news only cover when police act like when there's police brutality? No crowd brutality whatsoever. Come on, I mean, it's like you can't form this society that is boosting up victimization to a high degree. I mean, everybody's a victim nowadays. What the fuck, right?
Here's the thing: it's division.
Yeah.
Right. Whoever is behind this, they want the division. But there's a lot of good. Like I own the site Fight or Flight.
Exactly. Yeah.
Official.tv, right? And then it has a lot of good press, like good things that the cops do, like saving a baby's life, and a lot of cops do a lot of amazing things. But those are hidden. But why is the media showing certain things and they're not showing the overall picture, right?
Yeah.
It's a really touchy subject, but if you see who's funding the Antifa group and you see who's funding even the Black Lives Matter, who's funding it, do your research. I love what they stand behind, but now what are they really standing behind? Is it violence? Is it what's going on? How come I see all this stuff that they're like terrorizing people at restaurants and they're getting in police officers' face? I don't understand. And but Well,
Because
I don't know how to explain it, but
yeah.
I did my research, and it's it's
You know what
it's crazy
scares me the
stuff.
most is that a lot of people will not go through internally. People will start to become all extremes as well. So a lot of people are starting to get bipolar, and I don't mean just in the therapeutic sense. I mean, you're either very happy and enthusiastic, or you're either depressed. You know, the gray area, the in betweens, is starting to die. You're either with us or you're against us. You're either this, you're either left, or you're either right. You're either Black Lives Matter, either MAGA, either this. I mean, so the ability to focus and to focus on a task will be more and more useful, I believe, for success. And I believe that people like you who have done it and who have had a very full career, and opportunities came, but you were ready for them because you were always focused on your task. So, how do you instill that in the youngsters? The ability to focus on the task. What do you say to them?
Well, first of all, I gotta be that role model for my son, right? And and I and I see how things are completely different than when I was his age. And many years ago, I didn't have that cell phone. I didn't have the social media, so I didn't have to worry about that. But now, with social media, it's like a double-edged sword.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
on one edge, you get real media. On the other edge, kids are getting depressed because of follows, because of
yeah. Likes,
what their
follows.
friends are, getting
Yeah,
and they're not getting because of social media. So it's like it's a tough time to be a parent if you're really involved as a parent. But there's a lot of parents that are not involved, and that's why they have all these kids out there that are running around and abusing elderly people with bricks, and they're filming it and they're getting caught because their parents didn't teach them right. They didn't teach them from right from wrong. And as the Bible says, they are the one who's supposed to lead, and they are the children that will lead tomorrow. And but at the same time, people don't realize there's going to be them leading without us giving them the experience to lead.
yeah,
And so we all have to be responsible. It's a team effort. And with what I see in the youth, it's like it's scary. It's
yeah,
like, wow, this is what's going to run tomorrow. I mean, there's a lot of very smart kids, and they try to help and expose certain things, and their accounts are getting shut down, and they're seeing all this, and they're picking up on a lot of stuff. And you know what I'm talking about, the
yeah. I
craziness
do.
that's out there, the dark stuff that's out there.
Mm.
And those are the guys that are leading. But then we also have to teach the ones that are, the ones that are not the scholar, the ones that are going to be the ones that are that fight, right? A lot of parents want the best education for their kids, but they don't want they forget about the best survival, the best um, education to survive in today's world that will be tomorrow, and that will who will lead tomorrow.
Yeah,
So that's there's a lot of elements that are, well, us as parents around the world are falling short on because we're too consumed with what we're doing as adults, and not worried enough to put that time and effort as parents. I'm not speaking on, like, there's a lot of parents that are great parents, right? But I'm talking about majority. Look, if you look around you, and are you even looking at your kid's phone? My kid's 15 years old. Show me all your pictures. Show me your, and he's just like, okay, Dad. And I'm like, what the hell is this in there? Well, my girlfriend sent that to me. I'm like, okay, well, you got to understand all this is going to go away because your grades are not A's. You can have this if you get A's, So you have to kind of like, you can't just cut it off on them and they'll be angry at you, because you have to learn how to fit in with them, because they're going through this, and at the same time we didn't go through what they're going through now. We went through what we went through back then, so we kind of have to understand how important it is for them to be accepted and to kind of like make people look at them a certain way, but at the same time you can't just chop that and tell them who cares what they think. It's what you think. It's what you will do in the future that will make a difference. Don't worry about petty, excuse my Vietnamese, but don't worry about petty shit right now.
Yeah.
That's petty. Who cares? Work hard right now. Get your grades. Understand education. But at the same time, you want to educate them in survival as well, not just in school, because like there's a lot of stuff I learned in school. I'm not using it. Sure, I learned to balance my checkbook. I know, I'm getting ripped off or not, but like there's some of the history stuff and some of the like other stuff that I've never used once. So for me, I want to educate my son more, as in, hey, here's gun safety. If you handle the gun wrong, lives are at stake. But if one day something happens to me, you know how to defend yourself. Or if someone's in and it's just you and me, and we are, dealing with Antifa trying to break in or doing something, we know how to defend ourselves. Because a lot of people like on the internet, and I thank you to all the fans that will say, well, Kung, you don't need a gun, you got your kicks. But I'm not bulletproof. And it's not going to be like, give me a second, let me put on my armor.
Yeah.
And I'm going to run and online and order a bulletproof face mask.
Yeah.
It's just hey, you have to educate yourself, because look at what's happening.
I just wrote down what you said because I love these topics. So the first one is you make people stronger and not make them weak victims that always blame others for their mistakes. So the second one, this is what I got from all of this. Let me see if I'm correct. The second one, so always teach them the why. So it's not just about being strict or taking their cell phone or saying, no, you got to get, it's why. Because in due time, they will see, and this is the third one, the helicopter vision. So having someone to be really after them or with them or accompanying them from a place of love, so they see that this person is really dependable and someone to trustworthy, in order to have a great helicopter vision, a great seeing things as a whole, which we as teenagers were terrible at as well. So everybody, until they're like 30, or some people even at the age of 50, don't have a good helicopter vision. So that was great stuff. That was intense. I love those tips on parenting, on taking care of each other. Thank you so much. I would just like to ask you just a couple of questions, and then we're gonna finish.
Sure, no problem.
About I have to ask you about the movie business a little bit. So how did the movie business come about? How did you start getting into movies?
I just happened to, with what I was doing, how I was fighting, it just came to me, right? Some Hollywood managers saw my fight against Tony Strickland, and right away reached out to me. I went out there and met with the manager and then the agent, which I'm still with today, the agent, but not the manager. And then, kind of like how you maneuver through Hollywood is also, as an Asian American, it's tough as well. But it's how thick your skin is, and it's how you want to be better than not just what you're going to get hired by someone else, right? You want to take your vision to another level. Like for me, being a world champion doesn't mean that the knowledge stops. You got to grow in not just the fight arena, but you got to grow as like a father. You got to grow as a parent. You got to grow as a businessman. You got to grow as an entrepreneur, and you got to grow as a producer. You got to grow as an actor. So you take all those elements and you say, do I want to work for someone for the rest of my life, or do I want to do something that makes like people understand a character, and a character arc that they can get behind and they can follow, and they can share in the moments of happiness and sad and growth in the character, and maybe if there's a message to be said about certain things, which God willing, when I do these projects, it's more like to give that message where we're at and how things with how, of course, action will be part of it.
Yeah, because I know
But at the same time,
turned down a few roles because in a way maybe your artistic sense would be like, why am I going to be doing more of the same or getting beat up by the same guys over and over, right? So it's really about the artistic expression for you. It's not just the, wow, I'm going to be in the movies, I'm going to be famous. So it's not, you're already very famous in the fighting world, obviously, but we know Hollywood is a totally different story. But still, it's very good of you to actually be able to, no, I'm going to turn this down because this is not me. This is not what I want to do. And I believe that you have a very nice print on camera. Not only to be a lead actor, but also to be obviously a bad guy, because fighters are way too intense and you're an intense guy. But not all fighters translate very well into movies because they're used to, even technically speaking, in terms of fight choreography is a whole different animal. So it's like, instead of going very short or very effective on the movements, you want something more ample. So I believe that Kung Fu helped you a lot, and maybe Taekwondo as well, because they're more ample martial arts. So how was it translating the fights that you did in the ring to the ones that you did in the movies, for example, with Donnie Yen? I mean, I love that fight.
Well, that fight actually, me and Donnie, we had another fight action director, and the fight took place 80% indoors. And I kept on telling Donnie, hey, we got 2.5 blocks of 1905 Hong Kong. How come we are not cranking parkour? We're not like doing like some amazing stuff outdoors. We're in a fish market. We're fighting each other with bamboo sticks. You're doing about a dozen reverse punches on me. We should be doing like stuff that we can really do in real life.
Using
right?
the elements. Yeah.
Yeah, and then so we took a chance. I came back and I filmed a pickup week, a whole week, and we had that fight scene between me and Donnie at won Best Action in Hong Kong at the Hong Kong Film Festival, which is like the Oscars here, and then where I really got a chance to express my own knowledge and vision through the fight game was Dragon Eyes, and with Dragon Eyes, I realized it was a lot of work because I was a lead actor, but at the same time I was putting together all the action, and it won some awards. It beat out like Gino Carano's, who was directed by Steven Soderbergh at the Action Film Fest. We got Best Action, and then J.J. Perry, who directed, Action directed the fight between Gina and Michael Fassbender. We beat their fight out, but they came in third. I had two fight scenes that was first and second. So and then from there, the next movie I got a chance to be the star in. I should have took a little bit more control over the fight scenes, but I let my coach at the time, who was on Dragon Eyes with me, because the character that I was playing was like a vet that had PTSD, so the role was more demanding. So I said, hey, can you try to run all the fight scenes? And the fight scenes were great, but they weren't dynamic like Dragon Eyes when I really put like craziness into it and like more of like the fighting style. Then I looked at it as looking at like puncture wounds. I could have been with my fighting style, but then I said, okay, what would the military do? This is what they would do, as in how they would fight, how they would, you know. So I just kind of implemented that, trying to stick to the character. I should have just say, this is who Kung Lee plays, and that's the skill set. Then it would have been probably more dynamic, but that, I got experience to play two leads, and then I got some input on Pandorum, where I was like, the guy who saved the day with Ben Foster's in the movie, Dennis Quaid, Antia.
I love Dennis
so
Quaid.
it was it was a lot of great experience, and then doing movies with like Master Wu Ping, in
Wow.
True Legends, and in Grandmasters, and working with Wong Kar Wai. He like
Wow.
everything that he films is like a painting, and just working with Corey Yuen on The Man with the Iron Fist. I mean, I've gotten so much experience, so I decided, where am I going to go with this, acting? How am I going to represent the Asian community? Am I going to be that Yakuza or the Chinese triad guy who's always getting killed? Or am I going to do something that can, stand out, because, I'm still physical. I'm tactical. And I think, I can, so I started writing. And now I got a couple scripts where, I just got a letter from Vietnam to invite me over there to, see how I can work together with Vietnam, and, maybe look into getting some investors. I had a couple scripts, but I'm kind of moving these scripts in a different way. I don't want to give too much away, but, thank you, God, for the opportunity. And, with God before me, nothing can stand against me. So if this is what he wants, it's going to happen.
So you couldn't get that artistic intuition that sharp without watching a lot of movies. So I lay it on me. Which type of movies did you watch growing up and stuff like that? Were you a huge Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan fan and stuff like that? Who are your heroes?
Oh yeah. Actually, I started out 36 Chambers of Shaolin.
Oh,
Kind of like
Gordon
something
Liu.
that you right? Five Deadly Venoms,
Ooh,
Then
Shaw
the Bruce
Brothers.
Lee came in. A lot of the Shaw Brothers, like the Fist of the White Lotus. So
Yeah, yeah.
it was cool, because as soon as, like, when I did the Mount Iron Fist, RZA's I want you to be like the Toad in Five Deadly Venoms. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be like Kung Lee, but I'll be kind of like the Toad, So
Okay.
it was good. Just because I watched a lot of movies doesn't mean that I can, put it into a vision and create something special. I think I have to, like, all glory goes to God. That's how I see it. Is what's happening now with, all of a sudden I'm writing these scripts, and people are like, "You wrote this? No way!" I'm like, "Yeah, I did." And then everything that's happening now, I think it's just God's plan. Like I used to be like, "All right, what's my plans? This is my goal," and this. I'm like, you know what? I just kind of toss that out, and every day when I wake up, I'm like, "Okay, God, what do you need me to do? I'm ready." So yeah, God's warrior, God's whatever. Clean up, do whatever. I'm here.
Excellent.
I'm ready to serve.
It's funny how
So
everything comes together, right? It's funny how it's like there's really this godly plan. So I'm sure religion or faith is a huge component, and we're gonna finish off with this of the mental fortitude that is Kung Lee. So do you have any sort of rituals, any routines, like stuff like I get up in the morning and I meditate, stuff like that? I go for a walk. I envision my day. Do you have any sort of routines? Any mental strengthening routines?
yeah, I do. Actually, at night and in the mornings, it used to just be meditation, right?
Yeah.
Now I'm mixing prayer with meditation. I've always been faithful with God. I mean, at a young age, my grandfather did a great job and kept my faith strong, and I was able to talk to God for the longest time. But I kind of lost my way a little bit in my last marriage, and I'm now it's even stronger. I think I need to learn from what I had to go through, and then and move on. And now it's like, hey, I see the path now, instead of before, like I'm wondering, where do I need to go, what I need to do. Now I already know. I'm just waiting for the time and being patient, like the sniper, ready to take out 2 targets with 1 bullet.
Incredible, sir. Thank you so much for this. This was a real treasure of a chat. So I'm very glad that you had the time to chat and to share with me some of your intimate thoughts, which I think it's very good for the audience, not just to know the fighter or the actor or the producer, director, writer, whatever, but also the person behind all of this, because we are all human beings and we all resort in certain ways, either to our training, to our mental aspect. And I really love when I get to connect with people and get to know a little better how they got to where they got in terms of their performance, and where did they get their vision. So thank you so much for this little bit. And if you have any message that you would like to leave or any plugs that you would like to do for some of your projects, lay it on us. And thank you so much.
I guess the first, thank you for the interview. Thank you, God, for today, and thank you to all the fans for all the support, and people who maybe is going to see me for the first time today. Hello, and be safe. Do your research, because don't live in that bubble.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, exactly. Wake up.
Yeah, open mind at all times. Cool. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. And I'm gonna let you know when this comes on, and I'm gonna show you the link, because it's gonna be on my English channel and it's gonna be on my Portuguese channel as well, because I got a lot of followers in Portugal and Brazil, so they all are huge fans of MMA, UFC, Strikeforce, and whatnot. So they're gonna love to hear a little bit more about you with subtitles in order not to miss a beat. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'll see you soon. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
All right. Okay. Bye-bye.